Hello my friends, I finished the previous episode by preparing the model for painting, so now I can confidently pick up the airbrush and apply the primer. I've been working with VMS primers for a while now and I have to say it was a very good decision. They apply easily, the surface is perfect for further painting and their durability is also impeccable. If you watched the previous episode, but if you haven't seen it, do me a favor and catch up. You will remember how I prepared the individual components for painting. And now I will use that to apply the primer, then the paint and then the weathering. So I primed the entire model with VMS green primer. 2 thin coats were enough to prepare the surface for the proper colors. XF13 was the base shade for further color modeling. As you can see, I don't bother with much shading at this stage, but I apply the paint evenly to all the model's elements. After the paint has dried slightly, and you can probably count this in the minutes it takes to smoke a cigarette, I started the next step. A touch of lighter shade was added to the base color to paint the edges most exposed to light, creating a color gradient across the entire model. Of course, I focus on the most exposed areas, which should reflect more light. This also creates the right contrast across the entire model. By the way, I'm using a very good gallery airbrush. Since I can offer you discounts on purchases, I recommend using the links in the description. You will pay less and I will get a few cents for advertising the product. The second layer of highlights has an even heavier addition of light paint, and now I'm building a really light finish. I masked some elements with a piece of paper to create a very contrasting color cut. This is especially true on elements with straight lines. I also highlight all the round parts of the vehicle, but here I painted by hand without any aids. This is quite tedious work, but with a little practice you can reduce its time to a few minutes. The most important thing is to know which elements need to be highlighted and by what degree. Once this is clear, the rest of the work is a walk in the park. The model's appearance before weathering doesn't define its final color. The color shift of some surfaces will play out well once the model receives subsequent layers of effects. The amount of light the model reflects is significantly less than in the real vehicle, so it's necessary to support individual elements by enhancing their shapes with lighter shades, often quite contrasting with the base camo color. I painted the rubber rims a matching shade, and as always it was rubber black by AK Interactive, and used a metallic marker by Gallery to mark where the track teeth were rubbing the edges of the wheels. I painted all the details on the model with a brush and acrylic paints. This isn't rocket science, so I just painted them all in a proven way that guarantees a sure effect. Elements of the vehicle such as edges, nuts, handles and all thin small parts were painted in a different shade of green to emphasize their location and shape. This way, using contrast, I created an additional three-dimensional effect. I know it's controversial and not everyone may like this method of brightening elements, but I like the look of the model. The distinctive painting of the long bar was intended to visually shorten it and mislead German observers as to the vehicle's strength. I can't say how effective it was, but when you look at the model from a distance, the bar's length is indeed significantly distorted by this characteristic pattern. I painted it by hand using a brush. It's not complicated and shouldn't pose a problem for someone who knows how to paint basic elements on a model with a brush. Painting the tank's proper name required careful analysis of the photo and surface preparation. I hand painted the entire inscription with acrylic paint using an enlarged and printed photo as a template. Its distinctive features include varying letter sizes and diagonal arrangement. I tried to replicate this. This was the second tank with this name to serve in the Sherwood Rangers. Previously, the Sherman M4A2 had borne this name. Interestingly, painting the name was one of the first actions the tank commander took upon joining the crew. For the remaining markings I used various sets from which I selected the necessary decals. I used what the producer provided in the box, but also sets from start decals. As you can see, the number of markings is not large, but it's all I need for this model. Ultimately, the model featured the vehicle number, a white star and information about the anti-freeze fluid. The front and rear of the vehicle were enhanced with tactical markings. I applied a thin layer of glossy varnish to all decals. On the turret, the B Squadron insignia is a blue square. I airbrushed it, first covering the surface with masking tape. All of the stickers were treated with special VMS liquid to soften them and joined strongly with the paint surface. After all the decals dried, I coated the entire model with glossy varnish to even out the transfer surfaces. Let the work go on, and I would like to mention my wonderful patrons who support my activity. Massive thanks, guys! My special words of gratitude go to Bulldog09, Christopher Obarski, Dale Etchison, Dan Dubois, Hans Zub, Peter L, Steve Ankin and Karsten Keddy. But the people listed just now are also my great patrons. They all believed in my passion, saw something valuable in it and decided to support me. It's really great when you know that there are a few crazy guys in the world who think like you, want to watch what you build and appreciate the effects of your work. This is really super motivating and gives me the strength to continue working. Please don't forget that you can be one of them. It's very easy because there is a chance to enter this superb group without pay a penny for 7 days free trial. This way you can check whether you like what I publish for my patrons or not. You can surf on my page with no limits, watch and download all superb high-resolution pictures, watch progress shots, check stories with unpublished in other media's models, read the articles, watch the videos with no adverts and enjoy other benefits. Just for free. Since the blue light special was to be placed on a diorama set in the early spring of 45, I decided it should have remains of winter camo. I looked at it more from a modeling perspective and wanted the dark body of the model to be brightened by the light winter camo, even if only in the recesses. I started by applying a layer of chipping medium so I could work on the other colors later. For a thin layer of white camo as a leftover from winter masking, I used white paint with a touch of deck tan, which is the best solution for this effect. I applied it with an airbrush in an irregular pattern, focusing only on areas where it might have remained after use and not thoroughly cleaned by the crew. The basic tools for this job were an old toothbrush, toothpick and brush. The paint soaked in water simultaneously activates the chipping medium applied earlier, making it susceptible for scratching, washing and general damage. This way you can create a good looking worn out winter camo. For the end I made some horizontal scratches on the sides of the hull to simulate paint damage from tree branches and tall bushes. Now the model could be subjected to appropriate weathering work. If you found this content valuable, please give it a like, share it and subscribe to expand our tactical reach. Feel free to leave a tactical comment of at least 7 words to help boost the algorithm.